Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, Louisa. Thanks for inviting me back. It's been a while.
It has. It's a pleasure to have you back. So my first question to you, Stephen, is how have you come about to have 75% of your leadership team being all female?
Well, it's a great question. I have to say that in part it is a legacy. I've been fortunate to work with these people for a very long time, and I've seen them grow in the roles that they've had, and they've all been certainly in my tenure working with them. I've seen them promoted within their roles and take on more than one task. So I'm extremely fortunate, to have them on board in those key roles.
So are you saying that it's just because they just happen to have always worked with you, or are there things that traits and things that you've seen in these individuals that have that seem to be apparent in women that you've noticed that have made them key people to be right people?
Oh, for sure. They've done this in absolutely their own right. If they were up against others and they happened to be male in that sort of time and that opportunity, I've still no doubt I would have employed these people within the role. Um, as I said, I've seen them grow within the role and seen them take on the task. And one of the key things that I've noticed about all, we're talking about 75% of the team here, all of those people have shown me without any shadow of a doubt their depth of knowledge and their commitment to the task. So, it's irrespective of what sex they are. It's about their ability and how well they do in the role, which for me is determined why they're still in that seat today.
So what is it do you think is about your leadership team? What do you think are the strengths that they have combined that make them a really strong leadership team?
Okay. I think one of the things that I've observed with all of them is that they don't they're not shrinking violets. They're not going to wait until something becomes a big problem and hand it over to somebody else to make the decisions. One of the key things that's made the team successful is they're empowered. It isn't an element or a question of do I trust them, because I think trust therefore means you may suspect that you could mistrust somebody, and it's not that at all. I think they just know, and I've seen them take charge of a situation, especially if it relates to anything, for example, like health and safety. You can't wait around to phone the MD and say, what should I do about this? And what I find is it's about making decisions and standing by them. And as long as you make more decisions that have a good outcome, so you do things more right than incorrect, then that works out very well. And I think, one of the things I learned from a mentor many years ago is they made the sentence to me as, I may be wrong, but I'm not confused. And I love that, because it's about moving forward. And each of my, the females that I have in these leadership roles, they make decisions. They move the business forward. I don't have to stand at the side of them and look at the task. They decide and they get on with it. And I think that's super impressive.
But there must be something about your leadership that has given them, given them the chance to be able to make those decisions, because you must have empowered them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's important that you agree. You almost agree the boundary lines of what to cross, so they know if it was. And I mentioned health and safety before. Anything that would involve the safety of another individual, they're to act on immediately. They're without any shadow of doubt. If it was a case of we need to transfer, a huge sum of money to somebody on a deposit for something, then I'm sure they'd give me a call, or certainly it'd be run through the finance director. But I think it's the fact that we've agreed those in terms, and also you get used to working with each other and you get used to knowing, what you should be jumping on and what you feel confident to. And I think you have to allow people to make mistakes as well. It's no good, shooting somebody down for a mistake that's made, because they may clam up and not feel so confident next time around, and that's not what you want.
So how much of the strength of the leadership team is based on how long they've been working for you, the fact that they're females, and the way you lead them? How would you rate that?
I mean, it is heavily weighted to that because of the fact that we've worked together so long. But whenever I interview anybody, irrespective of whether they're male or female, it's really, you get that sort of small window to come across to somebody with what you're capable of. And it's important to be, it's a bit like, I don't want to make it cheesy, but you think like the X Factor, and you get Simon Cowell saying, you know, I remember that particular audition. It's a little bit like that with interviews. If you come in and you can say all the right things and you can quote your background and what you've done, and then somebody else comes in and does the same, I think it's important to stand out. And you know, for me, I know for a fact that the ladies that have got in these roles, if they went for another interview, I know for a fact they'd be sought after because they've got those skills and they would stand out and they would be memorable.
So I think you're quite, you know, you're somebody that's very commendable because you've got a fab leadership team, and they've been with you for a very long time, especially after what the whole country's been through recently. What would be your top tips? I know you've given me some there already, but your top tips for other leaders that have got a great leadership team that want to make sure that they can keep those people. What would be your advice?
I think first of all, be inclusive. You know, share your ideas with the team, gain their input. I think, you know, make sure that you recognize when they do something well and take the time to have the conversation about it. It's not always monetary, and it's not always, you know, I mean, it helps, of course, and salaries and all these things. But I think making sure that you acknowledge the work that's done and the particular areas and the expertise in their areas is important.
Yeah, and I would agree that I don't think it's always monetary. Being in the recruitment industry, you know, that's actually the one of the least things that people are interested in. People want to enjoy what they're doing, and they want to feel included. They want to feel valued. So yeah, I second that. Excellent. Thank you very much, Stephen. You've been a pleasure to interview. Thank you for sharing your advice and your experience. And we're going to be doing a spotlight on the leadership team, which will be rolling out in February. So looking forward to doing that and to meeting your team in person.
Thanks, Louisa. Appreciate that. And I know they will too.